Young liberals, gripped by delusions, fueled by a propagandized media, are basically demonstrating that they are essentially children.
What if this, all of this, is a simulation? I mean, it's a crazy idea, but what if it is? And if there are multiple simulations, how come we have to be in the one where Donald Trump becomes the Republican nominee for president?
The New York Post reports the University of Michigan offered its traumatized students coloring books and Play-Doh to calm them. The University of Kansas reminded its stressed-out kids that therapy dogs, a regular campus feature, were available. Cornell University, an Ivy League school, had a campus-wide cry-in, with officials handing out tissues and hot chocolate. Tufts University offered its devastated students arts and crafts sessions at campuses from elite Yale to Connecticut to Iowa and beyond. Professors canceled classes and or exams, either because students asked or because instructors were too distraught to teach. And now the globalists are making idle threats based on the blanket of fears stitched together by misinformed liberals and the mockingbird media.
I congratulate the newly elected President of the United States, Donald Trump. This is for sure a difficult moment in the relationship between the United Nations, the United States, and the European Union.
Und Amerikaner haben entschieden, dass diese Verantwortung in den nächsten 4 Jahren Donald Trump tragen soll. Deutschland und Amerika sind durch Werte verbunden. Demokratie, Freiheit, den Respekt vor dem Recht und der Würde des Menschen, unabhängig von Herkunft, Hautfarbe, Religion, Geschlecht, sexueller Orientierung oder politischer Einstellung.
We trade about $600 billion a year. So every year you have trade flows totaling $600 billion across the border with China and the U.S. And so if that flow ever gets interrupted, a lot of people are going to be out of jobs.
On Mr. Trump and what he would do, he's going to work with everyone. And you say how can you bridge the rift? I think, Chris, that we ought to realize that where we may disagree politically and ideologically, people have far more in common in this country than they may realize when they're in the heat of the political battle.
And I'd also like to congratulate Mr. Donald Trump with his victory in these elections.
Но Россия готова и хочет восстановления полноформатных отношений с Соединенными Штатами.
But Russia is ready and wants to restore the full-fledged relations with the United States.
Well, I congratulate Donald Trump on being elected as the next President of the United States. Britain and the United States are and will remain strong and close partners on trade, security and defence. We have a long-standing and enduring special relationship which is built on our shared values of freedom, of democracy and enterprise. And I look forward to working with President-elect Trump to ensure that we can maintain the security and prosperity of our two nations in the future.
David Rothrock, your reaction to what the British Prime Minister said?
I think it was a fairly predictable reaction. These reactions after an election tend to be anodyne. As it happens, she's kind of a political cousin of Trump's. You know, she is a kind of xenophobic, a right-of-center politician who's gotten into office talking about getting out of Europe and attacking refugees.
Donald Trump is the president-elect, whether liberals like it or not. He will enter the Oval Office to preside over a country that was deeply divided by community organizer Barack Obama, not Donald Trump. Trump will roll his sleeves up to rebuild the infrastructure of the American economy destroyed by Bill Clinton, George Bush, and President Obama, not Donald Trump. Trump will be faced with a mass migration of displaced refugees fleeing the war-torn countries thrown into chaos by Obama and Hillary Clinton, not Donald Trump. To the liberals still clinging to their security blankets out there, give your new president a chance to improve even your ungrateful life. John Baum for Infowars.com.
We'll be back. Stay with us. That's right. I love how he's at those big press dinners over and over again on that video, being laughed at, being made fun of, being told he's stupid. And he just sits there with total confidence. That's presidential. That's manly. I would give Donald Trump about a 99 performance rate right now. Appointing Reince Priebus, the head of the Republican Party, who stabbed him in the back over and over again. I don't like it. But I trust Donald Trump. We'll see what he does. I care about his agenda. Now, he has Bannon, who is totally awake to what's happening, over him as the chief counselor. So they do need to know, just like, you know, you want to hire the same janitor that's worked someplace for 20 years. If you buy some 20-story building, you want to know where everything's at, what's going on. If they just use Priebus for 5-6 months as a guide, which is a trend I've seen that Trump does, and then throw him overboard, that'll be another feather in Trump's cap. But I do not trust Priebus at all. He is a rhino, neocon, galactic-level weasel. And when I learned yesterday morning that that's who they were probably going to appoint, I just obviously wasn't happy about it. That said, watching 60 Minutes last night, Trump knocked it out of the park. He said, we're going to defend the Second Amendment, and we're going to be pro-life, and we're going to build the wall, and we're going to cut the taxes. But there was one part that we're going to dig up and play where she says, your supporters are running around saying racist things and doing horrible racist things to Muslims and Mexicans. Are you going to apologize for that, or are you going to stop it? He says, yes, I wasn't aware of that, but I told my supporters, stop it, don't do it. I'm very surprised to hear that. I hate to hear that, Trump said. I would say, don't do it. It's terrible because I'm going to bring this country together, close quote. Ladies and gentlemen, the few people I've seen at his rallies that start screaming Jew this, Jew that, or Mexican this, Mexican that, look mentally ill, or they look like agent provocateurs. And I personally have had pro-gun rallies where people show up in KKK outfits, and we later learn they were not KKK. They also caught, remember, at Rand Paul events, people dressed up in hayseed outfits, very racist, in overalls and stuff with red checkered shirts. And I said, those photos look fake. Let's do some Google searches. I mean, by fake, it was like Halloween costumes to them. They weren't worn out overalls or coveralls and holding up signs saying, we hate Mexicans, when he was running for the Senate. Folks searched it. Turned out it was Democratic Party actual operatives that worked for the party. We also caught them doing the same thing in Houston, running around screaming, we hate black people, we hate N-words a few years ago. This is what they do. This is what they do. And so you see almost none of this happening. It's the mainstream media that is injecting race into everything 24/7, saying that this is a white lash over and over again. What's amazing, though, is that even Michael Moore has come out, because he knows which side of the road victory's on, and admitted that Hillary was disconnected from the people, admitted the Democratic Party needs to be basically totally reorganized, and went on to admit that the huge supermajority that elected Barack Obama, I mean, he got a huge mandate in 2008, those same people are the folks that elected Donald Trump. In fact, the headline from Fox News, and it was a clip of him on MSNBC, was Michael Moore, Trump voters not racist, same people that voted for Obama. And I was making that point last week. I'm glad now that's being picked up, because how do you have this big majority of people, a large swath of them white Republicans, that jump parties and vote for Obama to prove that they're not, quote, racist? Well, as I said in a tweet last night, now they voted for Donald Trump to prove they're not stupid, because they took all the goodwill of this country to try to bring people together and tried to buffalo us into accepting Obamacare, open borders, globalism, one-sided jobs, you name it. In fact, the Washington Post admits it as well. How voters who heavily supported Obama switched over to Trump. Boom. Even the Washington Post. But notice how much more truthfulness there is now in MSM that Hillary's out. She was running the major newspapers. She was running the major TV networks. The Democratic Party was in total control with the major corporations behind them, and they control the executives. And if you strayed out of line 1 millimeter, you lost your job. Now they realize, A, Hillary's gone, but B, they've lost almost all credibility, and their profits are in free fall. The New York Times and other papers are down over 97% in the last quarter. Look it up. That is cardiac arrest politically, as I've said many times. Now, the good news is stock market is continuing to boom. because people have exuberance over tax cuts that are coming. The communist Chinese have weighed in. They're trying to manipulate the stock market, promising a trade war if Trump tries to have fair deals. Well, I mean, China, you got a currency 30-something% below us, and it's not a trade war if we cut corporate taxes to match you so that maybe we get a few jobs. How about be fair? You know what? You want a trade war, China? You are in much worse shape than we are. So if you want that war, throw us in that briar patch. There's CNBC. China fires its first warning shot, warning iPhone sales will suffer if Trump starts a trade war. China, you got a one-sided deal. You got a whole bunch of generals and people that are billionaires. You're the supposed communist. You need to share the wealth in your economy. You need to pay people more. Now, I want to go out to break with this clip of all the celebrities that said they'd leave the country. Now they say they were just joking. No, get the hell out. I went back to Amy Schumer's videos and stuff. You were very serious. You said you were going to go to Spain. By the way, dumbass, Spain's like 5 times more right-wing than we are right now. So also know what you're talking about. Let's go ahead and play that clip.
If it isn't Hillary in November, does your act change? Does your outlook
My
change?
act will change because I'll need to learn to speak Spanish because I will move to Spain or somewhere.
Will Donald Trump be our next president?
If that mother becomes president, I move my black ass to South Africa.
And I need to coming to your country if you'll let me in, or Canada.
I already told you what I'm doing if he becomes president. I'm moving to Canada. Me and Drake gonna be neighbors if Donald Trump becomes president.
Listen, if he wins, he won't have to worry about immigration. We'll all go back.
Jeez, I might leave. Is that right? Yeah, I might. Where would you go? Canada.
I know everyone's always idly threatening this, but I'm 100% moving to Canada. I love Canada, and there's an area in Vancouver that I find beautiful and appealing, and I can conduct business from there.
I'd be an expatriate. I would definitely move.
Trump win, I'm moving to Africa.
If any Republican gets nominated, I'm going to move to Canada with my entire family. No, I literally bought my ticket, I swear.
You're not a citizen, you know, of Canada.
It's okay, I'll make it. I'll figure that out.
I did buy a house in another country just in case. So all these people that threaten to leave the country and then don't, I will leave that country.
Well, I would consider getting in a rocket and going to another planet.
Good, go with Cher.
For me to move. And what's wrong with
All right, there's a lot more of these. It's up on Infowars.com right now. These people all think you're weak-minded. They want to use peer pressure on you to bully you into not supporting a nationalist. Well, guess what? It blew up in your face, bullies. We'll be back. So what we've seen happen in the last 6 days, tomorrow it'll be 1 week, is a total collapse of a giant con artist facade. And if you're a new listener, you may have missed it, but this is something I talk about like a broken record because it's absolutely paramount in our fight. It's all a con game facade. Globalism, the New World Order, all of it is admittedly to make you poor and stupid. It's a very cold-blooded, psychopathic system that engages in total divide and conquer and a move to deindustrialize populations so you can dictate their surrender. And when they all sit up there on every news channel and tell you in every comedy show, in every movie, with product placement and propaganda placement and behavior placement, telling you that you can't have someone and that they're racist and that you're racist and that Obamacare's free when it's not, when that facade fell, it was irrevocably damaging. But what is that media combine doing? They are trying to reorganize and actually double down predominantly with the same, anyone that doesn't do what we say is a racist. That's all they've got. Now, that only works on the weakest-minded people. And I want to tell you something now that I've got to get on video. Just like we told you last week, we saw huge buses, folks trying to get home, pulling in to drop off the 5,000 or so people that demonstrated and tore stuff up in downtown Austin. For whatever reason, we didn't get video of that, but my crew saw it. I saw the buses, but didn't know there was a big rally going on. And they were all over. I mean, like 90 of them is what it looks like. We have since then gotten footage of them doing it yet again. And I'm talking about mile after mile of buses pulling in for people to run around and riot. Now footage is coming in from Chicago and other areas of the exact same thing. All I knew last Wednesday was I was in a traffic jam trying to go home and see my kids when I went off the air at like 5 o'clock. I saw the buses. And, man, when you see the people in these videos we have up on Infowars.com, Drudge has them as well at DrudgeReport.com, they look like they've just been robbed or something. I mean, they look like they're angry, they're upset, they're confused. And this is the new possession to a trendy. I don't care what color they are, they have the exact same look on their face. That being wronged, being a victim, is like winning the Super Bowl. And then being in these collective cry parties, that they admit they have cry parties at the University of Texas in Austin. They have cry parties. They put out emails, and people show up and cry. You've seen the videos around the nation, not just on election night, but for days after. I later then learned from employers that I know, crew members I know, and even people I know, because we're so inclusive, we even hire some folks that don't agree with us, that even one person that works for me took off a few days last week and actually cited they were too upset by the Trump victory. Yes, you heard me right. So that's where America has gotten, ladies and gentlemen, that people literally believe Adolf Hitler has been elected. None of it's true. And imagine the mind control that people are under. Imagine the ignorance where they really think that Donald Trump is going to do all these horrible things, start World War III, deport all the Mexicans, on and on and on. It's just like in North Korea when Kim Jong-un died, or Kim Jong-il, his father, and the 2 days of crying. And if you didn't cry enough, and if you didn't freak out enough, you got thrown out. In fact, that's a genius idea. Let's take this video. It's going to go viral right now. I want it out in the next hour. It's so huge. Let's take this video of North Koreans crying when Kim Jong-un died. Let's show an image of him and the newspaper headlines. Then let's cut and mix in the videos of people crying and screaming and begging that we have. And then let's cut it in to the celebrities saying they're going to leave and freaking out. Like, let's hear some of this audio right now. This is actually going on all over the United States. And we don't have the audio. We always have the audio. This is hilarious. We'll just Google. We'll pull it up after the break. North Koreans cry when Kim Jong-il dies, and and it's all for group consumption. It's all just part of the mass authoritarianism. And then you study the so-called left. They want to shut down words. They want communism. They want socialism. They want collective. These people are the ultimate followers. And their whole image of how they're good and they're winners and they're living vicariously through the state and through the media, that's their friend. They don't have husbands, they don't have wives, they don't have families anymore. They just have the state and the state-run media. And when it's proven wrong, their whole universe comes crashing down. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say, see, I told you so, that communist Chinese-style net censorship was coming to the web, because it's already here. It's being announced. The way you keep the internet open and free is you get involved more than ever. Go to Infowars.com/app. A new battleship in the fight. Infowars Live. Available right now.